I'm going to be zooming out quite a bit further than any of the other presentations that we've had today. Really talking about the innovation and some of the ingredients that go into innovating, and really how we put those good ideas into practice. So we're going to start with some introductions, then really jump into this idea of the innovation fallacy, and introduce some concepts around treasure hunters and stepping stones. And then move in towards the tail end of the presentation, talk about how cmBuilder is part of that innovation journey that we're going through at PCL, and then some of the stepping stones that we've identified on our journey to become 3D first builders. And I realized this morning that I didn't have an introduction to PCL. So before I introduce myself, high level PCL ENR number 11, I believe, last year. So we're across North America, serving all of the major markets, largest general contractor in Canada. I've been with PCL for my whole career, 20 years, started in the project management stream, did 14 years there, and then 6 years ago moved into this role as the manager of construction services. So schedule, quality, technology, and survey, all part of my group. I'm located here in Vancouver and service the BC region, and I'm also the chair of the, it's got a new name, the Asset Management, AI, and Digitization Think Tank for Building Transformations. So the innovation metrics fallacy. So when we think about innovation, we're usually trying to do something that's hard and to challenge ourselves to get to a destination. And there's two different types of challenging destinations. So the idea of, say, becoming a professional engineer, if you're in British Columbia, it's pretty straightforward. That path is very well known. The steps to get there are laid out for you. I'm going to go to university for 4 years. I'm going to work for 4 years, have some references, write an exam, and then I'm going to become a professional engineer. If we look at something that's a little bit more intangible, the idea of a big, hairy, audacious goal, or BHAG, comes from Jim Collins, Good to Great and Built to Last. Recommend both of those books. But these big, hairy, audacious goals, these things that are really hard. And so for probably the last 5 years, I've had this kind of internal, personal goal of making all of PCLers 3D first builders. Builders who use the 3D model in every aspect of the work that they do. And you think about the idea of becoming 3D first builders. I started this department with me and one other person. How am I changing all of PCL? So a really big, hairy, audacious goal. And I don't really know how to get from A to B. I don't know what the stepping stones are to go from me and one other person to all of PCL using being 3D first builders. Now we can't. So if we don't know the stepping stones, we can't create metrics. We can't create incentives, initiatives, all those pieces that we need to lead towards those stepping stones. In fact, those stepping stones are often counterintuitive, kind of like that Chinese finger trap. You got to put, if you've ever done this before, you got to push in to get your fingers out. If you try and pull out, you're not going to get your fingers out. So we can't really measure, it's very hard to measure, and it's certainly very hard to put incentives in place and metrics in place to get to those BHAGs. So I like to think about it in this way. And so with the project of today, it's kind of this rectangle. And at PCL for a long time, we were measuring technology adoption as kind of this metric we're chasing to look for innovation. And what I saw was, we're starting to make changes around the edge, and the project of tomorrow may look a little bit different. It's got slightly rounded edges, but really we're not drastically changing what we're doing. In a 3D first builder, with a 3D first builder's BHAG, the project tomorrow might look something like this. And so the stepping stones to go from this rectangular project to this weird shape that I drew up in PowerPoint are really not clear. So, talked about these stepping stones. That's great. We don't know how to get from A to B. So what do we do? And this is where the concept of treasure hunters comes in. So each and every one of you in this room, and across your organizations and within the industry, we're all coming with our own perspectives, our own experience. And we may look at something and decide, that looks interesting. That's something that piques my interest. I might look at it and go, nah, that's not really for me. But by your subconscious, when you're looking at that interesting thing, it's your subconscious telling you that this thing might have value, might be worth pursuing. And so if we adopt that mindset of treasure hunters, pursuing those interesting ideas, we may start to uncover stepping stones. And as we pursue those interesting ideas, we need to start sharing them. So we're all here at this conference, we're sharing ideas here. And as we share those ideas here or within our organizations, within our projects, other people are going to look at those ideas. They're going to start to filter them. You might say, Aaron, this idea is garbage. I don't like that idea at all. And it's going to get discarded. But there might be something here in my presentation today, or that you're talking to someone at the bar later, that's going to be a bit of an unlock for you, that's going to allow you to step on the stepping stone that this person you're talking to is already uncovered, and uncover some additional stepping stones for you to move forward, maybe on your journey towards 3D First Builders, for example. Quick poll question. Is the construction industry innovative? Kind of 4 answers. We're Luddites, we'll never innovate. Innovation is happening, it's just happening slowly. Innovation is happening, and it's happening every day. And look out, Silicon Valley, the construction industry is coming. Show of hands, any A's? Okay, a lot of optimists. B's? Okay, quite a few B's. C's? Any real optimists? Any D's? There's one. All right, awesome. So I really land in the C camp here, and specifically look at micro innovations. And they're going to tell a story here in a second. But these micro innovations are happening every single day on our construction sites. There are superintendents working with our subcontractors. There are architects working with their designers, and they're coming up with unique solutions. So this project, it's an old project. I was a project coordinator on here. It's the Villa Casino out in Burnaby here in Vancouver. And you can see I was responsible for the finishes in this lobby. You can see there's a lot of stuff happening here, and those big tall purple curtains were a last-minute change order, and it's about a 4-story height glazing there. We'd already started the tile work. There's radiant floor underneath. There's this fireplace. There's all kinds of stuff happening. We had to get a lift. We had to get up there and measure these curtains, and then actually go in and install them on top of this finished tile floor. And it was looking like we weren't going to get this finished in time. But I talked to the curtain guy, I talked to the tile guy, talking to all these different people, and we're filtering out our innovative ideas, and eventually building a solution that allowed us to get this particular lobby completed on schedule. And that type of innovation is happening every single day on our construction sites. When it comes to macro innovations, which is probably where most of you were kind of thinking when I was asking about that poll question on macro innovations, or sorry, on innovations, there's a few barriers. So the biggest barrier that I see is really our risks and incentives that are structured primarily into our contracts, but also into the way our organizations are managed. And so kind of 2 pieces there. One, we're in the business of risk management. We're transferring risk from owners down to general contractors, down to subcontractors. And so as we transfer that risk, each individual party is incentivized to optimize for themselves rather than for the whole of the project. They may not want to share for fear of taking on additional risk. Further, as a project manager, you might be looking at something, maybe it's cmBuilder, and going, this could save, I could maybe make 1% more fee, but I could also lose 1% fee. And I'm not really willing to take that risk because my job's potentially on the line. So there's a real risk aversion as a result of the way the industry is structured. Long project iterations. So, we get a project team. They jump into cmBuilder, they're loving using it, but it takes some time for them to kind of figure out how best to leverage it on their site. It takes them 4 to 6 weeks to get up to speed. They're onboarding subcontractors, they're onboarding owners, but they have great success. That project team now it gets, once they get onboarded, they've started their project, they get set in their ways or they get set with their processes for that project. They're not going to change. They're not going to iterate on the innovations that they created at the outset of that project. You got to wait 2, often 3+ years, and some of the projects that Hensel Phelps was talking about are going to be 5+ years long before that project team comes off of that project, is able to kind of set that new floor with the innovation they had on the previous project and now innovate on top of that. So it's a real challenge to get those innovations from coming out of one project and into the next. The cycles are really slow. Think about something like cmBuilder. Give Javi a great idea to do a crane planner, and he puts that in, and that takes, I don't know, somewhere 3 to 6 months, and it turns out it wasn't a great idea, but he's able to mothball that in a matter of months, not in a matter of years. Lastly here, digitization. So this is maybe a little bit controversial. I want to be very specific with when I talk about digitization. I'm talking about turning physical or paper processes into digital processes. And that's really where the first wave of technology that hit the construction industry came in. We're replacing a plan room with an electronic plan room. Instead of sending faxes, we're sending emails. But really, we're still doing the exact same work with just slightly different tools. And so, there's this semblance of innovation, but really what we're doing is we're rounding the corners of that project of today. Some of the things that I'm seeing as accelerants. On the risk and incentive side, the contract type. So seeing a huge, I'm sure many of you are experiencing this, a real shift away from the traditional design, bid, build, a lot more CM early involvement with contractors, and for us at PCL doing quite a lot of work on the IPD and alliance contracts, where you've got these trilateral agreements, where each of the key parties have an incentive to optimize for the whole. They're not just optimizing for themselves. And that's really creating these environments where we can start to innovate across organizations, not just within an organization. Last planner system. So I'm seeing, and I'm using the term the last planner system here on purpose, not pull planning. I do really believe you need to implement the entire system, but that is a system that is designed to get the kind of innovations that I'm talking about, to uncover those micro innovations on your project with that collaboration, the yes ands that happen with your sticky notes up on the board. And so seeing significant adoption, really this is maybe focused on the BC region for PCL, but that one is definitely growing significantly. And then lastly, the concept of digitalization. And so here, instead of turning a paper process into an electronic process, we're really changing the way we work. And I think for us at PCL, I think the drones were one of the very first ones that came in, where it's like all of a sudden the amount of data that we're able to capture in a drone completely changes the way we're managing, say, an excavation contract. cmBuilder is a phenomenal example of digitalization. We're not just taking what someone was doing with a hand markup and doing that same thing on Bluebeam. We're now completely transforming it, adding 4D, adding that element of 3D, and getting much better results as we digitalize these processes. So with that, I can take you through a couple of examples where we've had kind of some innovative ideas or innovative things that have come out of cmBuilder. These aren't necessarily huge innovations, or they're not really a show off of cmBuilder. Much more to talk about what that innovation looks like. So first is Burnaby Hospital Phase 2, just east of us. This is an alliance contract, and we were brought on board, again, this trilateral agreement with the architect and the owner. And there was an indicative design already in place. So we started kind of with the constraints of that indicative design, which was really the location of the new building. You can see it. I don't have a laser pointer. I think I do. I do have a laser pointer. It's a new building, and this is the existing hospital. And as we started, working on design. I think we're about somewhere between 5 and 6 months into the design process. And we start modeling out our excavation, pricing this out, realizing how expensive it is to go down 4 stories to accommodate the parkade that needs to go here. And truthfully, I don't know the exact story of how this all came together. But at some point, someone's looking at the site and going, well, if we move the hospital if we move the new building to the other side of the hospital, so this side was back up over here, with the slope of the site, we don't have to dig as much. And it turned out they're absolutely right. cmBuilder really helped us determine exactly how much less excavation it was, and I don't know the exact number of cubic meters, but it did save the project 3 months of schedule, and somewhere between $30 and $40 million. And that doesn't happen. Maybe the cmBuilder is a big part of that, but that doesn't happen without the alliance contract model, where we're all sitting together, we're incentivized to maybe push the big red stop button and suffer the cost of the sunk cost of the design work that we'd already done to move the project to this new location. And here you can see it's starting to come together. I've got a little superintendent sketch in cmBuilder starting to play around with some of the site logistics. Really not the high-end stuff that Hensel Phelps was showing, but the idea here is that getting superintendents in here thinking about how they're going to plan the project. And this slide is mistitled. This should be CSRC, which is a research facility on the New St. Paul's Hospital campus. That's about a $500 million project. And this is the excavation plan that we got from our excavation contractors. There's not a lot here for us to really work with. We're like, okay, sure, we can kind of start with the excavation. And as we started to talk to them, we started to implement their plan into cmBuilder. And as we continued to implement their plan, we got down to the bottom of the hole and realized that this raft slab is critical path for us. But their excavation sequence had, I think, 1, 2, 3, 4, and this is the 4th or 5th part of the excavation sequence for them. And so very early on in the project, we're able to immediately identify that missed sequence or that misaligned sequence and correct it before it became an emergency or a real problem. Additionally, you can see kind of up here where we've got the stair tower sitting on top of that footing, something we almost certainly wouldn't have realized until we went to pour that footing, able to get out in front of that, move that stair tower, saving the project somewhere between $5,000 and $20,000 for not having to relocate that stair tower down the road. So again, relatively simple innovations, but this is where we're getting those digitalized technologies allow us to really see the challenges that we're going to encounter on site before we actually get there. And here's the kind of eventual PDF version of that. You can see this is our sequence of pouring out those foundations versus the kind of original sequence that the excavation contractor had. So lastly, I'm going to kind of talk to you at the beginning of the presentation about my personal BHAG of 3D first builders. And this portion of the presentation is really focused on the BC region, but some of the stepping stones that we've uncovered on our journey to become 3D first builders. So apologies for the AI generated image. That was the best I could get. Hopefully we can build better than that on the far side. But the first stepping stone for us was really the use of Revisto, getting our project teams access to the 3D model, connected to the 2D. They can stay grounded in what they know and still get into the 3D really started to open doors for us. cmBuilder, key component in terms of that planning tool, getting our superintendents really excited about the use of the 3D environment. And then we also, I think it was 4.5 years ago, maybe even 5 years ago now, we bought an RTC 360. Okay, this is, we're going to be 3D first builders. We're going to go out, we're going to scan some stuff. And we scanned some stuff, not a lot of stuff. It spent most of the time sitting in the yard. It scans super fast when you're out on site, but if you don't really have the infrastructure in place to leverage it, it ended up kind of being a bit of a dead end for us. Cupix, sorry, build dots. I know you're here. But I use Cupix, and a lot of this is, the vendors, maybe, I won't say vendor agnostic. It's about the process or the digitalized tool. So Cupix, it's 360 cameras that are monitoring progress on site. A clear win, especially on some of the mega projects that we're working on for our projects teams, and a reinforcement of the value of being 3D first builders. Sorry, actually, I'm going to quickly touch on Plannerly, which was right there on the right over here. So Plannerly, again, one that we've explored. We decided that the BIM execution plan aspect of their platform doesn't really make sense. It was a bit of a dead end for us. We're still looking at the LOD matrix side of their platform as having potential value. Survey. So I talked a little bit about the laser scanner. Eventually, we ended up bringing Survey into the construction services department, and that's really started to connect what we're doing in the 3D model to what's actually out in the field, and been a big unlock for additional stepping stones. Power BI, something that our project teams are familiar with, and as we start to kind of try and collate data across our entire across an entire project, the use of Power BI really shows up. And the more we connect the data, the more we realize that we need the model as that kind of central piece that is connecting all the different pieces of data, whether that's cost, schedule, the CUPIX piece on the production tracking. All those pieces need a model in place, and so it adds that emphasis on the value of the 3D model. And the last one that's kind of relatively recent unlock as a result of the use of Survey is using SX12 total stations from Trimble. They are multi-stations, they scan and are a total station. And so we've got surveyors now out in the field. This is their primary tool, and so they can be doing their regular survey work and then just do a new setup, take a scan, and move on. And as a result of kind of bringing Survey into the construction services group, we're able to now leverage scans a lot better and a lot more maybe part of our regular process, rather than this one-off thing where we've got this unique use case where an RTC makes sense. Laser scanning is now becoming part of everything that we do. Oh, sorry, one last one. HP SitePrint, again, built on top of that stepping stone of bringing the surveyors into the construction services group, allowing us to kind of take the model and then go do that layout with a robot out in the field. So with that, I'm going to wrap up and open it up for questions.